All right, let's talk about a man who, by all rights, should have been a statistic. Instead, he basically became a symbol of just unbreakable human will. This isn't just his life story. We're going to dig into the David Goggins mindset, a blueprint for turning absolute hell into your greatest strength. This right here, this is the entire Goggins philosophy in one sentence. It's intense, it's not comfortable, and it's the big idea we're going to unpack. The belief that you only find out who you really are on the other side of serious pain. So you have to ask yourself, where does a mindset like this even come from? Well, it wasn't forged in a gym or on some battlefield. It started in a childhood that Goggins himself calls the devil in paradise. To anyone looking in from the outside, everything looked perfect. His father, Toughness, had a successful business, a roller skating rink. They had the nice cars, the beautiful house, the whole picture of success. But that picture, it was a complete and total lie. Behind that perfect facade, his father was an absolute tyrant. He ruled the family with violence and fear, and he turned their own home into a private prison. I mean, the hurdles he faced were just relentless. We're talking constant abuse, forced child labor. Then, after he and his mom finally escaped, they were slammed with extreme poverty and racism. The stress from it all was so toxic that it left him with a stutter and made it almost impossible for him to learn how to read. And just when a good man, a real father figure, finally came into his life, that man was murdered. It was just one crushing thing after another. So after years of running from all this trauma, Goggins hits absolute rock bottom. And it's right here, at his lowest point, that he creates his first really powerful tool for change. He calls it the accountability mirror. And this is the question he started with. And it's really the one he's asking all of us. Because the very first step to changing anything is to stop lying to yourself about where you really are. The power of the accountability mirror is that it's just so simple. It's not some complex psychological trick. It is a raw, brutally honest conversation with yourself. No more blaming your past, no more making excuses. It's just you, that mirror, and the unfiltered truth about where you failed and, maybe more importantly, what you could become. And Goggins made this incredibly practical. He would literally stand in front of a mirror and call himself out on everything, all his weaknesses, all his insecurities. He'd write his goals down on sticky notes and slap them on the mirror, forcing himself to look at them and at his own reflection every single day. It was his way of taking complete ownership. So, armed with this new level of self-honesty, Goggins sets his sights on what has to be one of the most insane transformations you can imagine. He decides he wants to become a Navy SEAL. There was just one pretty big problem. He was working a dead-end job spraying for cockroaches and weighed nearly 300 pounds. A recruiter basically told him he had to lose 106 pounds in less than 3 months just to have a shot. Now, most people would have just laughed and walked away. Goggins saw it as his first real test. His life became this constant cycle of choosing to suffer. He'd wake up before the sun to run and lift, then study for the entrance exam he'd already failed a couple of times, then work a grueling all-night job, and then just do it all over again. Day after day, he was deliberately picking the hardest possible path. And through this whole process, he developed something he calls a calloused mind. The logic is really simple. Just like your hands get tough and calloused from hard physical work, your mind gets tough from facing adversity. By intentionally doing things that suck every single day, he was basically building up this armor of mental toughness. And he was going to need every single ounce of that mental toughness for the ultimate test, BUDS training, and more specifically, the infamous Hell Week. Hell Week is, well, it's exactly what it sounds like. We're talking over 120 hours straight of physical torture. You're always cold, you're always moving, and you get less than 4 hours of sleep for the entire week. Its only purpose is to make you quit, to find your breaking point. And yeah, most guys don't make it. And this is where Goggins makes this incredible mental shift. He realizes the instructors are playing a mind game. Their job is to break him, so he decides to just flip the script entirely. His goal wasn't just to survive what they were dishing out, it was to mentally dominate them. He actually called this mindset taking souls. When the instructors expected him to be exhausted, he'd act energized. When they were hoping he'd fail in evolution, he'd perform his absolute best. He just decided that he would outwork everyone, showing them that no matter what they threw at him, they could not break him. He was actually feeding off their attempts to destroy him. So after hearing this whole story of turning pain into pure power, from the accountability mirror all the way to taking souls,
The book's final challenge isn't really for Goggins anymore. It's for you.
He leaves us with this one final, powerful challenge, and it's framed as a question. What if? What if you stopped making excuses? What if you actually embraced discomfort? What if you found out that you are capable of so much more than you currently believe?